It is the car industry's big summer day out at a test track near Bedford. Big engines, petrol, hybrids, electric, most of these, they were imports, but they still rely on British parts flying across the Channel. But now, because of Brexit, European governments are telling their businesses to avoid UK parts. The official Dutch government advice seen by Sky News warns businesses trade with the United Kingdom will become more difficult after Brexit. This may affect your company, but also your suppliers or customers. Consider looking for alternatives within the EU when the product or service is essential for your own business operations. And after Brexit, the United Kingdom is no longer part of the EU, so parts from the United Kingdom no longer count towards this minimum production in the EU. Keep in mind any consequences concerning the reduction of orders. This is all about the parts that make up cars and planes. It's about rules of origin, vital for cross-border manufacturing. In order to qualify as an EU export, 55% of the total value needs to come from the EU. What the Dutch advise is that UK parts do not count.
I think what the Dutch government is saying to their businesses makes perfect sense from a trade point of view. There is a risk that they don't know what will happen with the UK and EU relationship in March 2019. Be ready, and that may involve sourcing your parts for your finished products from inside the EU rather than a country that's leaving.
And it's not just the Dutch. From here at Rotterdam Port, the European Commission itself has just put out a notice to EU factories making a similar warning about UK parts. But the rules of origin issue is a two-way problem for post-Brexit Britain about what will and will not qualify as a UK export under the much-heralded post-Brexit free trade deals promised by this government.
Rules of origin are the small print of free trade deals with big implications that kick in if we're no longer part of a customs union with the EU. For example, for cars being exported from Tilbury docks. The government has previously argued that we are very close to meeting the sorts of thresholds that will enable a British car to be a British car under a free trade deal. But Sky News understands that the industry has told Number 10 directly that we are, in fact, miles off.
Car industry chief Mike Hawes confirmed that to Sky News.
The actual figure is more like 25%. If the target is 55-65%, it shows the difference, the distance we would have to go.
But the government's been going around thinking it's more like 44-45%.
No. The UK automotive industry, on average, buys about 44% of its products from a UK supplier. But that's not what rules of origin is. You have to look at something called originating content. What proportion of the content actually comes from the UK in our instance? That is more like 20 to 25%.
So as far as cars go, on average, they won't even qualify for the free trade deals that the government is anxious to sign by leaving the customs union. Sky News put this to the Trade Secretary.
Could it possibly be that cars made in the UK might not qualify for some of the free trade deals you hope to be signing?
Well, in any trade agreement, rules of origin, as they're called, is always an important element. You can't prejudge any one trade agreement, but we would want to ensure that anything that we signed up to was able to maximise the UK sale of goods. Why would you sign up to something that wasn't actually going to give you a trading advantage?
But this former Trade Department insider said that warnings were made to the very top of government.
We knew there would be a steep learning curve for ministers, the Prime Minister, in issues of trade. I think I've been more surprised by the lack of engagement with business. That meant that these messages didn't come through clearly and quickly enough, that essentially they wanted from business really to just talk about the opportunities. They didn't want to hear about the possible threats that would come with Brexit. They didn't want to hear about the whole picture.
I mean, there you're talking about Downing Street, you're talking about Number 10, you're talking about the Prime Minister.
I think so, yes.
All this comes at an already delicate time in the car industry. Privately aghast at the chances of attracting big battery factories in the UK that need to be able to be used by continental manufacturers of new cars.
The industry, the government want the car industry to go fully electric over the next few decades. That requires tens of billions of pounds of investment. Investment that may be lacking because of Brexit uncertainty. And the government at the very top seems to barely understand.
So right now these rules of origin mean that Europeans can shun UK parts, and for now British cars won't even qualify as British for free trade deals. Just like a car, Brexit is all in the detail. Faisal Islam, Sky News.